Hello, my name is Allison Warner and I am the Chief Editor of Orthodontic Products. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. Before we get started, some housekeeping. If you have technical problems, this webinar will be available on demand after this live airing. In addition, if you have questions, contact information for our presenter will be made available at the end. Now let's get started. Today we are joined by Sam Wainwright, Dental Product Manager at Formlabs. Sam is going to show you how to make super fast orthodontic models with the company's new 3D printing material. I think this will be an informative look at how your material choice can really impact your practice's efficiency and accuracy. With that, I'll turn it over to Sam. Sam?
Okay. Hello, and thank you for coming, and thank you for your time. My name is Sam Wainwright. In this webinar today, we're going to be talking about how you can make super fast orthodontic models with a new material that we released on October 27th. And this webinar is going to go through first the step-by-step and the entire process to give a bit of context, and then details about this new material. Like I said, my name is Sam Wainwright. I'm the Dental Product Manager at Formlabs. I've been in the industry for about 12 years, over 10 years. Who's counting? So the agenda for today's webinar, a little intro to Formlabs very briefly, the workflow in detail, step by step, so the entire process from start to finish to making one of these appliances, details about this new fast material that we released, and then high level all the other dental materials and resins that we have on our 3D printer. And then lastly, the ecosystem and high level information about it, and then the next steps and Q&A. So first, more businesses are choosing 3D printing and choosing Formlabs and Formlabs Dental. Formlabs as a company is actually over 500 people. It has 7 offices locations in many countries, but we are primarily based out of Somerville, Massachusetts, which is next to Boston. And Formlabs Dental is a team within Formlabs completely focused on the dental industry. And why that's so important is because we are just a part of an overall digital dental workflow. And so the way it works and the guidance and education otherwise is all been thoughtfully developed and brought to market by the team. Formlabs is also a world-class manufacturer of photopolymer resins. We just last year released our first in-house developed and manufactured biocompatible resin, and almost all of our standard resins are also made by Formlabs. And this happens with material scientists and manufacturing experts and many other people in Ohio and Massachusetts. And our dental users have done over 200,000 biocompatible appliances and over 10 million dental parts. With that said, here is the walkthrough for the clear aligner or retainer process. So these are the 4 major steps. There's acquiring the digital impression, designing your case, manufacturing or 3D printing it in this case, and then thermoforming, finishing, and delivering the product to the patient. And like I had mentioned, today we're going to be talking about clear aligners or retainers. So to start with scanning, you need a digital impression of the anatomy. So this can be done with a 3D intraoral scanner or even potentially a laboratory desktop scanner from a traditional impression and model. Once you have that digitized impression, you are able to bring it into a dental CAD software where you can plan and design the case and the treatment. Probably the most robust software on the market is 3Shape's Clear Aligner Studio. 3Shape's been making orthodontic software for a very long time, but this most recent version is its next level, and it is definitely the most full-featured software option on the market for orthodontics. There are many other options, and something that's really important here is some of these other options have per-case options and fees, meaning that you don't need to buy a really expensive software upfront. You can just pay per case, which is very nice and adds a lot of flexibility to the workflow. ULab Systems has a design service and software. Blue Sky Bio, Full Contours, a full featured design service. So you send them the case, you tell them what you want, and they send it back. EasyRx also has some really nice online tools for building models and bracket removal and stuff like that. And then iRock also has some options for aligner case treatments and design. Once you have your models ready or your case ready, you need to have it in an OBJ or STL. STL is most common in dental. And once we have that file, we're ready to manufacture the part. So this is where Formlabs comes in. First, we need a material. You need to bring the design into our preform nesting software, print it, and post-process it. So for the material, and this is very important for this webinar, the new material of choice for orthodontic and dental models generally is now draft version 2. It is rapid and accurate, and I'll get into detail a lot more on that later. Once you have your material chosen, you need to bring it into Preform. Preforms are free to use nesting software. It's very, very easy to use and intuitive, but it also has a lot of powerful tools for adding manual supports and many, many other things. And the walkthrough I'm going to take you through right now is just printing models flat to the build platform. So in this example, say you have models in all sorts of different orientations, it's really quite easy just to select the base of the model, to snap those down and get them ready for printing. So just by clicking the tool on the left and clicking the bottom of the part, it snaps those perfectly flat to the build plate, which is critical to its printing. From there, you play a little bit of Tetris, get those arches in the correct orientation, not overlapping, and you're ready to print. To send the job to the printer is quite easy. You hit the orange button on the left, you select your printer if you have multiple, you can even have a job name or what have you, and it sends it to the printer. Preform is completely free to use. You can download and install it today. It doesn't require internet, there's no licensing or dongles. It connects to the computer by Wi-Fi, Ethernet, or USB, and it also allows remote printing. And Dashboard is an online software that really complements Preform, and it is for batch and job management. So you can track material usage, if the printer is running or not, and also allows you to send from any location you'd like, so out of the office or out of the laboratory or whatever it might be. So once you've got the job sent to the printer, you're ready to start printing. And to prepare the printer for printing, it's quite easy. So our material comes in a cartridge, which allows it to auto-dispense the resin. You insert that into the back of the printer, in this case draft. You put the tank in, you slide it forward, and you put it in a build platform. And the job should be out there on the printer. You just follow the screen on the printer and you start the job. This is a time lapse of some splints, but hopefully you get the idea. It prints, it makes the part. Once the parts are printed, you need to post-process them. So that requires washing the parts in a solvent. In this case, we use isopropyl alcohol. Once they're washed, you then UV cure them. And we've really made washing and curing a much easier and affordable process in the industry. And it's really due to the robustness of these wash and cure units, but also how they're designed and also their ease of use. So scrape the models off the build platform. You can put them in the wash, either washing directly in the build platform or using it comes with a deep fryer basket. I like to scrape my parts before washing and put it in the basket. And the really important part here I want to mention is that you can set a time on the wash unit. So you can set it for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever you'd like, whatever works and we recommend for the material. And you can set it and forget it. It pulls it out of the wash automatically. It's very dangerous to let these parts sit in isopropyl alcohol for a very long time because it will break them down and then you get inaccurate parts. So washing is automated step, 10-15 minutes about, and then it needs to be cured. So curing really, and on our unit specifically, it's even, precise, and also what curing does is it makes the material its final hardness and gives it its final materials properties. And with this new rapid orthodontic model material draft, it's only 5 minutes, which is incredibly productive comparatively. Just a little video here showing what support removal looks like if you were to print models vertically with our light touch supports, possible through LFS technology. That's our stereolithography technology that we developed for this printer. And that's really the 3D printing workflow. At this point, you're really ready to take those models and use them to make an appliance. So the appliance manufacturing, I highly recommend getting sharp curved scissors, like surgical scissors. Dental handpieces with cutting discs are also very important. And generally, aligners and retainers can be thermoformed, on sheets of plastic as small as a half a millimeter, but typically around the 1 millimeter mark. And yeah, this process really becomes much easier when you have the right tools. So scissors help a lot. And then to thermoform it, we use in our little laboratory at Formlabs a pressure former, the Druformat, and it pushes down the warmed plastic over the model with about 90 psi of pressure. So there's vacuum formers and pressure formers. Pressure formers are definitely better, but they can be a bit more expensive. So if this is going to be a big part of your practice or lab, definitely invest in one of these high quality pressure formers. This thing definitely performs better than others I've tried and used. So you need to cut the plastic around the thermoformed model. For initial cuts, I like using a cutting disc like so, and then I don't have a video for it here, but I'll trim around the cervical margin with the scissors. It gives a really nice finished edge too. So what I'm showing here is to get any fins off the edge of the appliance. If you do scissors and do it correctly, there's very little finishing after you make that final cut. So that might be easier and simpler way to go about this as well. So here's just the aligner after it's finished fitting back to the model. So there's a lot of advantages doing these clear retainers and aligners in-house. It's affordable, it's pretty easy, especially now, today, with technology like Formlabs and how many CAD software options there are. It's a quick turnaround time, so you can get patients in and out in as few days and visits as possible. And it's very, very accurate overall. Some challenges, there's always a learning curve. You want somebody in the practice doing it and committed to it, so getting the team on board. And there are some, even though our system is very affordable, there are some initial costs that you should certainly consider. But there's an absolutely huge potential for ROI and return on investment. So that brings us to, that's the end of the workflow section. Now I'm going to talk about dental materials and applications. And this is sort of my favorite part of the presentation because I get to talk about the new material and how incredible it is. But I'm going to be talking about layer heights or micron settings in this next part. And what does that really mean before going forward? Well, the taller the layer, the more steps it takes to make, say, a sphere like in this example. So say maybe that's printed at, say, 200 microns or 100 microns. Smaller layers, 50 microns, fundamentally is twice as refined or 4 times as refined in this example. So that's what I'm talking about when I mention those numbers. Draft V2 is an extremely fast and accurate printing material. It's for the Form 3B and Form 3BL. It comes in 200 and 100 micron settings. And I'm going to go through really quickly, just telling a little bit of a story about how the development and discovery process went. Go into detail on the 200 micron speeds, accuracy, results, and then the 100. So the materials and product team approached me over the summer in 2020, and they said, hey, we got a material you got to try. And I was like, okay, cool, what is it? And they were like, it's draft version 2. And we had a version 1, it's blue, like you see here, and it was okay. I mean, it was fast, it was pretty fast. It wasn't as consistent or accurate as I would really liked, but it worked in a pinch and if somebody needed a fast model. So I was like, okay, I'll check it out. No expectations. Try not to have no expectations, right? And so when I do application validation, I use master models. We used to use stone, but I've switched to using metal master models. So they don't deform, and you can kind of hammer them, and they don't break on you like a stone model will. So I have a full anatomy master model that I use for a lot of my testing in upper here. And so I told the team, I was like, okay, let's print these. This master model file vertically and flat to the build plate. See what happens. I'll thermoform some parts and fit it back, and I'll give you an idea on where we're at. Here's one of the first prints I did of the master model at 200 microns. First, it looked actually really quite good for 200 microns. I was impressed by its sort of crispness of the model, and it's also the anterior facials are like set up perfectly, so 200 doesn't really affect that part of the model at all. And so I thermoformed it, just grabbing a video from my previous part. I did pressure formings over, we like to do a lot of different printers and a lot of different prints across many, so we get like a good data set. And I thermoformed that first day 4 or 5 vertical and 4 or 5 flat to the build platform. And this, excuse the rough photo, but this is the first one I did in this new material. And I was first like, oh, those layer lines don't look bad, which I should also mention, the largest aligner manufacturer in the world, who does 350,000 of these models a day, prints their models at 200 microns. Important point. And the fit to the master model completely blew me away. Across every part that I've thermoformed on that 200 micron print, on those 200 micron prints, fit perfectly. Vertical, flat, they were all consistently the same. I was like, huh, okay, that's interesting. I noticed the vertical print, there were some layer lines on the facial anatomy, not really desirable, so I kept that in mind. And then I started looking at the speed. And these are actual print speeds, so this is a print actually starting and completing. Compared to a Gray 100 for this 4 model, and these are pretty tall models. It's a 2 sets, so 2 uppers and 2 lowers, different patients. Gray 100 would take about 3 hours and 53 minutes with a 30-minute UV cure at 60C. Gray 160, which was our previous sort of fast aligner or retainer material and setting, 2 hours and 34 minutes. Draft 200 did the same print in 58 minutes and 25 minutes faster in UV cure. So that's 300% faster than Gray 100, 165% faster than Gray 160. And I was like, oh, hold on. Those fit perfectly, and this is fast. Another example here is just say a really short lower arch, sort of the quickest print you can do, right? Gray 100, you can see here, 46 minutes. Gray 160, 28 minutes. Draft 200 did it in 16 minutes. And the really important point here is 160 and 200 in this example are pretty close, but the big difference is if you include UV curing, it goes from 75% faster to 161% faster overall in workflow. That's critical. And just to give you an idea of what that would mean chairside or in practice, one of the leading chairside DLP printers on the market, can do a single horseshoe arch in about 21 minutes. And if you take what they say online with their UV cure and their washing, it's a total post-processing time, including 3D printing, about an hour and 6 minutes. 7 horseshoe arches, 35-minute print time, and then including washing cure, about an hour and 20. With Draft 200, we're able to print that arch in 16 minutes, same arch on both printers, with washing and curing added. It's 31 minutes total time, in an ideal world, of course. But that's almost twice as quick overall when you consider all those factors. 7 arches, incredibly. These are pretty short models compared to the last example. 47 minutes for 7 arches. Again, 10-minute wash, 5-minute cure, and you're out the door. I mean, incredibly, 7 models in an hour and 2 minutes. And this is against DLP, which doesn't get slowed down by more models. So this is really, really impressive when I started looking into this. And for the Form 3BL, it took our print times on Gray 100, which were at 10 hours, down to 2.5 hours for 24 models. So simply incredible. And how is it so fast? Why is it so fast? What's so different? The printer's not different. It's the material, it's the resin. It's more photoreactive. In theory, it's twice as photoreactive as Gray or model resin, or other materials that we use in dental. It's as simple as I can as make it. And so when I started then digging into the accuracy, we saw some incredible results. 98% of the surface to actual within 100 microns. And just to really quickly go over, what does that mean? Okay, so we have our metal model and a very accurate scan of it built and based. So we take that file, we 3D print it, we scan it, and we use a Medit scanner, and we also use a 3Shape scanner. We take those outputs, the scan file, and compare it to the original manufacturing file. So it's a deviation from actual to the original geometry. And then you overlap those two and compare them and see how much they deviate across surface. And if, say, a cusp is out by 120 microns, that means it's not within 100 microns of the surface actual. And so Again, 200 printed this model, 200 microns, 98% of the surface, and this is not just on one print, this is across multiple printers and jobs. 98% of the surface within 100 microns. Incredible accuracy, well beat my expectations. Here's just a shot of some aligners and models made on the new material. And here's a macro nice photo of the fitment of a model, an appliance thermoformed on a 200 micron model and fit back to the metal master. Here's some patient shots with some retraction. You can see the layer lines almost disappear once you add a little bit of saliva, and the facial anatomy, you can barely notice it at all. Very, very happy with those results. We even did some traditionally made appliances, like you can see here, a Holly retainer, and we fit it back to the master model. It fit perfectly. I did a handful of these tests, and everyone fit exactly like it did to the printed model back to the master model. It was really, really an incredible process. And it got me thinking, we need 100 micron settings. First of all, vertical prints will be better. And if you really want a high quality, no layer line model, 100 microns is really where you need to be. So, here's a picture of the example of the vertically printed model at 200 microns. So we started to develop it. And the materials scientists and set ops team and everything else, they made 100 micron settings. And in our scan analysis, not that impressive 99% within 100 microns, but if you go even on a higher tolerance within 50 microns, draft at 100 microns is 89% within 50 microns. And that's cross arch. That's not localized. That is an incredibly impressive accuracy. And it shows in our validation and testing. There were no surprises. Things just worked. Draft 100 comparisons on that same job I showed earlier, where draft 200 was at about an hour. This is 2 hours print, so logically twice the print speed as draft 200, but still much faster than grade 160. And a better surface because it's 100 microns, and it's twice as fast as grade 100, not to mention UV curing again. So here's a side-by-side of draft 100 and 200. And then here's 7 models, pretty short models. Draft 100, hour and 17 minutes. Draft 200, 47 minutes. And here's some total working times for those 7 models flat to the build platform. Side by side on the left here is a 100 micron print, same model in 200. Just a nice close-up photo to give you guys a bit of a better idea. And then vertical. One of the few reasons why I made the 100 setting or had it made was because of vertical prints. And this is staggering. I mean, grade 100 on this 18 model print, over 15 hours. Now it's 5.5 hours, and again, curing's faster. It's twice as fast, at least. Here's just a nice photo of those vertical prints that I did. Really came out very, very nice. They fit. It works. And then the Form 3BL, 54 models, I believe here. Pretty impressive photo. So that wraps up the draft section. These are our 3 resins for model production. We have the draft V2, the one I've been talking about. Really, I highly recommend it for anybody wanting to do fast dental models, but orthodontic, it's perfect. For our restorative models, we have a material called model resin, which is a bit more appropriate for stump shades and fitting margins and dies and stuff like that. Then white for diagnostic sort of case presentation models. Here's a model, some photos of model being used to check contacts. White here, very white, but good for patients or people that don't know dentistry or 3D printing. It just makes more logical sense to have a white model for somebody to look at, right? And then for biocompatible appliances, we have quite a few now, and we've added one recently. So we have our splint material, which is Dental LT Clear version 2, temporary crown and bridge or CB, custom tray for custom impression trays, surgical guide, denture teeth, denture base, and now permanent crown. Going through these really quickly, Dental LT Clear is our new long-term use splint material. It's fantastic. It's hard. It fits perfectly. Really, really nice. Temporary CB, custom tray. Here's a nice photo of the splint here, but this is our 2nd generation of this material, and we really wanted to improve and did improve the durability and resistance to fracture by almost double. And it's also been optimized in print setting and validation for 0.3 millimeter touch tips, which is really makes post-processing easier. And you can see here a little video of somebody ripping our sample part that you can request on our website right off of the supports in one shot. I don't really recommend that, but it sure is fun to do and watch. One of the key attributes is color. We saw yellowing in our first version. We've fixed that. They'll even come out a little bit blue or violet, but it really comes out clearer over time as it ages. It's really a beautiful material and prints super nice in the Form 3B. So here's the details about that material. It's in the US only for now. It's coming to the EU hopefully not in the not so distant future. It's sort of stuck in regulatory a little bit, and the cost is really very affordable. It's with this example, $5 a splint to print, even with waste. Dr. Ferguson, a dentist we worked with in Florida, he was one of our beta testers. He loved it. He's impressed with this resiliency, strength, and clarity of the resin. These factors will definitely have a positive impact on patient comfort and acceptance. Biocompatible appliances, just finishing up here, temporary crown and bridge for temporary restorations and bridges. Custom impression trays, great for 3D printing. Comprehensive trays for comprehensive cases. Surgical guide for implant guides. Placing dental implants, denture teeth, and denture base are used together to make full dentures. They come in 6 tooth color shades and 4 base shades. And you can see they print in 2 parts and post-process to become one. Here's just a side-by-side of all the gingiva or soft tissue colors here. And then our new permanent crown material, which was recently released, industry first, permanent restoration, single unit, for less than $5 a unit. This is a pretty big deal in the industry. It's very exciting. The Form 3B and its ecosystem, this is kind of the best part about the whole story is like our model material and draft material is affordable. It's about $3 a model. And our printer, even with wash and cure, is $6,000. I mean, it doesn't, for the quality, the breadth, or the portfolio of material that you have access to, the ease of use, affordability of our tanks, which not a lot of people talk about. It really is tough to beat dollar for dollar by a long shot. And a really important point here. Our Form 3B is sold with our dental service plan, so it's a group of really great support technicians that I work very closely with that are focused on making dental outcomes better for any issues that come up. Dental.formlabs.com has a lot of other webinars and education applications guides. We put a lot of time in those applications guides, so please check them out. And then really excitingly for this launch of this new model material, I did this cool part that articulates open or has slots for putting into occlusion. And then our splint sample, which you can also request online, actually fits to the same model. So if you request both those models or both those parts, they fit together and you got kind of a cool little kit. And the splint allows you to rip off the light touch supports, which is neat and fun. And the Formlabs Dental team is a big group of people, and from me to you, thank you for taking the time and spending it with us. Even if you're new to Formlabs or know the company well, I hope you enjoyed it and it was informative. Thank you so much. And great. My information's on this slide. And again, thank you for spending the time with me.
Thank you, Sam, for that presentation. A reminder, this presentation will be available on demand in case you would like to rewatch it or share it with your colleagues. And if you have any questions, again, please reach out to dental@formlabs.com. I'd like to thank you for attending today's webinar. Be sure to check out orthodonticproductsonline.com for the latest orthodontic industry news and for information on our upcoming webinars. Until next time, take care and stay safe.